Hey guys, AverageJonas here. I received a lot of requests to show my shock dart spots for all the bomb sites in the game, so I decided to make a video that covers all of them. And before starting, I need to mention that it's important to know that defusing takes 7 seconds. So if you're using your shock darts to deny a defuse, make sure you know how to do 2 successful shock darts that land in less than 7 seconds, including the reaction time it takes for you to shoot after you hear the defuse sound. If you're playing defending team, it's of course a lot easier because you're just trying to damage or kill the guy who's planting the bomb, and you have more leeway when using the shock darts. This is also why I try to avoid using 1 or 2 bar charge, but only 0 bar charge, because they will land faster. Okay, so let's just get right into it. Ascent is probably the worst map to do these shock darts because of how it's built, because this bomb site is further down than everything around, and the other bomb site has very high walls around them. I'm not saying that you should plant for shock dart spots every round, but if you're in a clutch situation, 1 versus 1 and plant, of course, if you're able to deny the diffuser without him seeing you, that's really great. So you have to assess the situation when it's smart and not. And obviously that's going to give you a huge advantage. So for instance, if you plant the bomb back in that corner, you can simply stand here, and you see this corner, you just put the charge bar up there like that, and just tap it.
Revealing area.
And that's gonna hit right there. So I'll show you how it is in an actual scenario. You hear the diffuse sound, and then you do 2 quick shock darts like that. And it's important that they take quite less than 7 seconds. And bear in mind that when you do this, they will most definitely get a half diffuse off. So that's something to have in the back of your mind if you're playing a 1 versus 2 or 1 versus 3. You can also plant here, and this is a lot safer in one way, because you can stand here and you can hide inside here, and you can line up this thing here with this box like that, and then you see there's a small line here. I'll show you. Then you see there's a small line here that meets this one, so in that cross there you can basically have 1 bar 1 bounce.
Revealing area.
And shoot, and it's gonna hit the corner. I did say earlier that you should try avoid using 1 bar, but if it's 1 bar straight ahead, it increases its speed. So it's actually taking less time. You can also hit this spot if you want to plant here. This depends also. So I try to make a spot on each side of each bomb site, because you kind of have a feel of where they're gonna rotate from. So if you know there's been a lot of stuff happening middle, then maybe it's safer for you to rotate to this end. So you can also stand here, and you can take your charge bar and connect it to this window frame like that, and do 1 bar 1 bounce.
Revealing area.
And that's also gonna hit right there. Now I did mention earlier in a video that the direction you're planting in actually affects where the bomb has been planted. So bear in mind that if you want to plant in this corner, actually facing inwards when you plant is imperative, because then the shock dart is definitely gonna deal more damage because they have less space to stand on. On A side, you don't really have a ton of options. First of all, because all the walls are so high, so the arrows take quite some time to land, and 1 bar charges are not really possible, and you want to stay in a safe position. So obviously you could do something like maybe standing here, do a 1 bounce full charge, something like this, and then, for instance, if you planted there, that would work, but it's not exactly safe. But what I did find was that I guess this is an okay spot, is to line up against this door frame and just place your charge bar here and tap it like that.
Revealing area.
That's gonna land here. So you can plant here, and this is a fairly good spot because this is a typical spot you could be standing on anyway if you planted from that side. But as I said earlier, Ascent is probably the worst map in terms of doing these ideal shock darts. Obviously, this isn't exactly a lineup, but that's just a general tip. If you wanted to, if you knew that they're pushing from the other side, you could also hold heaven and just stand somewhere like this and just plant in that corner and do something like this. It's not a lineup, but that's just a suggestion. And you want to play as much with the shock darts and recon darts that you're kind of able to predict where they're gonna land without having to make lineups for every single spot, because that takes too much time. And and I also think it makes you a better player if you just learn to predict how these arrows work. Okay, so Bind is a really good map for shock dart spots because of the whole open skybox thing, and these walls are easier to shoot over as well. I'll show you all the crazy shock dart spots in the end, but they're more for like show or for like rotational purposes when you play defense. But when you play attack, you need like solid and easy to hit shock darts because you're supposed to... It's more crucial that you kill someone defusing the bomb than killing someone who's planting the bomb. So this is the most common plant spot on B. So you can just stand in this corner, and this is quite a good corner to stand in anyway, because you can catch people pushing along off guard and stuff. So this is what I mean by actual real world scenarios, where you're standing in a position that's quite decent in the first place. Not to mention that this is a typical thing to plant from long, so people would be standing from long to poke anyway, but you could use our shock darts first if they're trying to bait you, and then afterwards you could use regular shooting. So what you want to do is, you see this corner here, you just want to take the knuckle like that and just put it in the corner. If you want to be more precise, you can see that there's a little triangle between my knuckles, and I'm trying to put that inside this square. But bear in mind, this is probably one of those lineups that has a slight difference on different resolutions, because I play on 1440p. So this is one of those where you would have to just like experiment to find the right height. And then simply tap it.
Revealing area.
See, this one lands straight on the bomb spot. And some people have asked me, why don't you make it land all the way in the corner? And that's simply because if the arrow lands here, it still does a maximum damage all the way in here. So there's no reason for me to hit all the way in the corner. That just reduces the maximum area where it's going to do the maximum damage. So if the bomb is all the way in the corner, then making the arrow land here is quite ideal, because then it's going to deal 90 damage to all of this corner. Some people also plant here, which is kind of like a baiting spot for me. It's normal to plant here if you're playing hookah or maybe even spawn. But you can still hit it from here, which is like a nice bait because they don't expect you to play long. And what you do then is, you see this ladder. You place the diamonds under the charge bar, but right on the point of the ladder like this. And then you jump.
Revealing area.
And that's going to hit right there on the spot as well. So in quick succession, this is going to look like this.
Shock dart. Shock dart.
If you're planting A default in this corner, you can stand in here. And this one is quite cheeky, because what you can do is you basically just like line up against this wall and make sure that you can see this for two reasons. Like, if you can see this, then you can like have the peeker's advantage if someone is trying to push you, and you can just quickly shoot them. But you're also in the right position to simply aim up and do this.
Shock dart.
And it depends on your crosshair size, but like this one doesn't need to be that accurate. The only thing that needs to be accurate is that you want to shoot it as far left as possible in this window. As far left and as high up as possible. So this is a good spot.
Revealing area.
See, that lands right there. So I like to play A heaven defense here on this map. So if they push you with smokes and everything, you should know how to hit every default plant spot from this position. Of course, if they plant here, you can also wallbang, but depending on the situation, you don't want to expose yourself that much. Or if they plant there, it's not possible to wallbang. So what you can do is you can stand back here, do one bounce, and you can just aim for this one.
Shock dart.
And that one's gonna hit right on the default plant spot if you stand here.
Shock dart.
And if you stand here. So it's one of those positions where you don't actually have to stand any like actual place. As long as you aim for this one, it's gonna automatically line up. And for the other one, you want to aim for the corner of this carpet, and it's gonna do the same thing. So full bounce, no, full charge into that one, and it hits there. You can also do a 2 charge probably like that. Yeah, 2 charge is probably better there. So split's a bit difficult because of all the high buildings and stuff, but I can show you a couple that at least you can use for defenders as denying the plant. So you can get up into this corner and aim for that leaf and do 1 bar 1 bounce. I'll just show you with the recon dart.
Revealing area.
And that's gonna land here. This one is risky to use as a plant denier, because if you know that, I mean as a diffuse denier, because if you count it, right, imagine that it takes 7 seconds. So 1,
Revealing
2,
area.
3,
Revealing
4,
area.
5, 6, 7. That's why you want to avoid these kind of spots if you're actually planting and trying to kill the guy who's defusing the bomb. I think one of my favorite spots on split is this one. So with this corner, you're so far away from the bomb that they're not going to push you. And that's good because for this one, you actually need to prepare the shot before they're defusing. As in already have the full bar charge ready to go. So what you're going to do, you're going to stand here and just aim between those two handlebars. With 2 bounce full charge.
Revealing area.
And that's going to land right here. You can also hit the default plant from up here, but this is probably more common as denying a plant when you're coming from a rotate from A, for instance. So you can get up to this corner and you see this sign, and then you just want to aim somewhere on the left edge of this sign and do 1 bounce, 2 bars.
Revealing area.
And that one's going to bounce off this one and hit here. You can also stand closer like this and do a 1 bounce, 1 bar.
Revealing area.
It should have the same effect. There you go. For A side, there isn't really a common spot to stand on to do shock darts, but I'll show you one. But this one is slightly risky, so bear in mind that you might have to predict when he's going to start to defuse, because these take some time to land. So you can stand here and put your diamond in the corner like this and do a 1 bar.
Revealing area.
And that's going to hit this corner. If you stand on the same box and line it up like this, so you want to use your diamond on that line like that, and do 1 bar.
Revealing area.
That's gonna hit default plant. You can obviously make sure that this one is like slightly more pixel perfect. You can also hit both ends of the billboard on split by standing, but then you need to stand in front of this one. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna use your crosshair aligned vertically with this one, and then you're gonna place your charge bar right under this metal bar. So this is gonna hit the shortest end of the billboard.
Revealing
I'm just going to show you on the map here. It's going to hit here. And you can do the same arrow, but move your bar down like this. So basically just 1 extra charge bar width approximately. And do the same.
Area.
And then it's going to hit the other end of the billboard. As I said earlier, 1 bar charge arrows take a lot longer. So this is one of those situations where you have another teammate who's also checking or poking. And this is just for help. Or if you're going to deny someone who's planting. If you really want to be a master of geometry, you can also stand here and do a double bounce full charge on this cross.
Revealing area.
And that's going to hit the corner as well. So Haven is probably one of the easiest ones to use shock dart spots on. And I've killed people a lot with these lineups. So I'll show you a few of them. One very easy one is this corner like that. And just aim for this big leaf. Just like that. Just tap it. Area. Super easy, super strong. Lands right there. It's so good. And bear in mind, if you have your ultimate, you might want to be further away because you can deny with your ultimate as well. But then you can also, as a variation, use your shock dart from the same position by standing back here. But moving out until you align with this one. See what I mean? So, not the first one, but the second line here. And then you're just going to aim somewhere on the top end of this one. So it just bounces on the blue wall. So 1 bounce, 2 bar.
Revealing area.
And that one also lands straight on the default spot. As I mentioned earlier, I like to have spots from both sides of the bomb site, because if I have some info on where the enemy team is, I can rotate around and do shock darts from the other end of the bomb site. Or if I'm playing defenders, this is a lot more common spot to be in when they're pushing and you're trying to deny them planting. So you see this corner of the roof? You just want to put the triangle between your knuckles right there on that corner and just tap it.
Revealing area.
And that one's gonna land right here. For B, the B one isn't super strong because you're so exposed when you're standing out there, but I'll show it anyway. So you can find different ways to line it up for if you want to, but for me at least, there are so many bricks that I didn't really want to use the lineup for all these different bricks. So I decided to use this line here and align it with the line of my bow like that. Obviously, you can choose a different way to line this up, but this is just to show you guys. So it's just 1 bounce, full charge.
Revealing area.
And that's just going to hit right there as well. So this is stuff you can fine tune, but I just wanted to show you guys the general direction of where you stand and where you shoot. However, for A, it's very common that you can deny someone planting from this position. I've killed a lot of people before they're able to plant by shooting from here. So what I want to do is first I can shoot the recon darts just to see if people are close to the bomb site. Sometimes you'll have your teammates already fighting on this spot, and then you can basically just see that there's a lot of action going on here, because this is a very common box to use for cover when you're fighting people on heaven or fighting people from here. So in that situation, you would just fire your shock dart straight away so you can go help your team as soon as possible. So the way you line it up is you take this light bulb, you put it inside your charge bar, but then you move to the upper part of this line. See what I mean? So align with the light bulb, but then move up to the other side.
Revealing area.
And this is gonna land right on the suitcase. So I use the suitcase as a kind of alignment model because it's very easy for me to communicate with my teammates. So if someone else has the bomb, I'll go, guys, can you please plant on the suitcase? They're like, okay. And then they just like stand here and plant. You can also hit the same spot from this angle. And this is one of my personal favorites because this is actually a good angle to hold in the first place. Because a lot of times the defending team will come behind and try to backstab from here. So you can look at this angle. But then you can turn around. You take the 2 diamonds of your charge bar and just align them with this circle like that.
Revealing
and
area.
just tap it. And this one also lands right on the suitcase. So as I mentioned earlier, the ideal shock dart is when you can be out of sight of the enemy defusing, but you can still send shock darts so quickly that they can only get a half defuse off, and you should still be able to run after you've done your darts and deny the second diffuser if it's a 1 versus 2 or 1 versus 3. There's no point going so far away that after you've done your shock darts, you don't have time to get there if there's another guy. Then it's useless. There are a lot of like cross-map shock dart spots and stuff that you can use, but I'm just going to show you this one just because it's a fun one, because it's the longest one I found, but obviously this is like 99% of the time never going to work. But anyway, what you do is you see this roof thingy, you line up the bottom of your HUD line like that to the 3rd plank and just do a full charge.
Revealing area.
I've killed someone once with this arrow, but like, you know, this is just for like, call it an experiment. Yeah, hit the suitcase, boys. Alright, thanks for watching, everyone. I hope this clarified all the questions you guys had earlier about where I do my shock dart spots. I did leave a lot of spots out simply because they're either only usable for predicting when enemies are gonna plant or defuse, or they're simply just not effective enough because they're hard to line up, or you need 2 or 3 bar charges and it's just gonna take too long. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please stop by my stream if you have any questions about Sova gameplay. I stream Sova gameplay every day, so stop by and come say hi if you want to. Alright guys, ciao ciao.
Shock dart.
Hey
Shock dart.
Mary.
Spike planted.
Shock dart. Shock dart.
1 enemy remaining. Last player standing. Do not fight. Attackers win.
Shock dart.
1 enemy remaining. Last player standing.
Hey!
Revealing area. Shock dart. Shock dart.
Hey!
1 enemy remaining.
Shock dart. Shock dart.
Last player standing.
Very nice.
Shock dart. Shock dart.
remaining.
Very good, my friend.
That's it.
Shock dart. Shock dart.
Hail Mary! Come on! Get him!
One enemy remaining. Attackers win.
GG's, guys.
Last player standing.
Okay, watch this. Yeah, it's good. Watch this, watch this. You ready?
Nowhere to run. Shock dart.
Spike planted. Last player standing.
Shock dart.
Hail Mary. Get him! Get him! Get him!
You will not kill my
Spike planted.
Yes!
One enemy remaining.
Shock dart.
I know if I leave.
Shock dart. Nowhere to run.
Last player standing.
Shock dart. Shock dart.
One enemy remaining. Clutch.
Shock dart. Shock dart.
Oh, come on, come on.
Spike planted.
Yes!
Shock dart. Shock dart.
One enemy remaining.
No! Sneak past it. No! No! No!
Dice P, more.